Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Suresh Reddy. I work at an institute called Center for Economic Social Studies based at Hyderabad. The study which I am going to present to you is we used to have a unit called Research Unit for Livelihoods and Natural Resources. It's used called RULNR, funded by Jamshedji Tata Trust. So we conducted a study in 2012-13 in 3 states, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand and Madhya Pradesh. So I will be presenting the outcome of that study. I think it's difficult for me to control time, but just see, we all know I don't want to say much about the context. Indian agriculture is predominant, more than 70% of the population dependent on Indian agriculture, but most of the time we used to speak about success or failure of green revolution. But there is, as someone said in the audience, that there is vast area of dryland in India wherein farmers have developed cropping practices which suit to harsh agroclimatic regions ranging from summer plowing to crop rotation, and these practices, they were developed by farmer based on his deep understanding about the interactions of climate, soil, crop and plants. So in these drylands, livestock was also important component, adding organic manure to the soils in addition to other tasks which it used to perform. And soil fertility is not only important for the farmers who own land, but it was also important to landless people, it was important to shepherds, it was important to people who traded manure. So it was an important livelihood for many people. So it was in this, through these multiple dimensions, soil fertility management formed an important issue. So, but there were very few studies were there in this area even now. So with this background, we have taken up the study. And the objectives of the study were to identify and record the soil fertility management strategies adopted by farmers in dryland regions, and to examine the livelihood, ecological, social and economic significance of these soil fertility management practices, and to identify the factors influencing soil fertility, and also to contribute to overall policy discourse. This study was taken up in 3 districts. In Uttar Pradesh, it was Lalitpur; in Madhya Pradesh, Sihor; in Jharkhand, Hazaribagh. And 4 villages in each district was studied. A total sample of 300 from each district was studied, totaling 900 farmers. And we used both primary and secondary data, both qualitative and quantitative analysis was also done in this study, and the data analysis was done at the size class level. So these are the pictures of some of the focus group discussion as a part of the study. Now I'm just rushing off some of the slides, and coming to the findings of the study, we could see most of our sample, it constituted small farmers across all states, whether it's UP, Jharkhand. So however, in MP we can see considerable number of medium and large farmers were also present. You can see the column down there. When it comes to the education status, a majority of the sample households were non-literate across all states and size classes, followed by education level up to 8th to 10th standard. And only 4.3% of the respondents in UP and 11% in MP and 7.4% in Jharkhand had education level of intermediate and above. And it comes to the livelihoods of the study villages, we can see they were dependent on multiple livelihoods, but predominantly it was farming and agriculture labor. And the most recent livelihood of another options that were added were Narega and migration. So in some of the villages, study villages, we can say 50% of the households were migrating for a large part of the year, and they were migrating to distant places like Bombay, Delhi, and it's related to soil type. This slide indicates like different kinds of soils that were present, and we can see that red soils were predominant in Uttar Pradesh, and whereas in Madhya Pradesh predominantly shallow black and deep black soils were there, and in Jharkhand red soils were predominant. So these different kinds of soil has implications for the types of crops grown in these areas. And we can see the different types of crops grown. So a host of diverse crops are being grown by the sample farmers, and this huge agrobiodiversity has implications for soil fertility. So the higher the diversity and some of the, especially the crops, some of the legume crops, when they are grown, they add a lot of organic matter through the leaf fall and fixed nitrogen. So without necessity of adding anything from outside. And this is the extent of kharif crops in these areas. So we can see till was predominantly cultivated by the sample households, followed by crops such as black gram, sugarcane and paddy in Uttar Pradesh. In Jharkhand we can see paddy was predominant. And we also tried to understand the soil quality of the plots owned by these households. So we tried to, through FGD, we arrived at a consensus which is the best plot in the village, and we were referring, that was a reference point. So we could see that in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, majority of the sample households plots were of average soil quality, followed by very good soils in UP and good soils in Madhya Pradesh. It was not that totally it was bad, but when it comes to Jharkhand, majority of the sample plots were perceived to be of good quality, followed by average quality. And this could be due to the use of lot of farmyard manure even today in some of the villages in Jharkhand. And this slide indicates the cropping system. We can see in Uttar Pradesh majority had monocropping followed by mixed cropping, whereas in Madhya Pradesh monocropping and mixed cropping were more or less same. In Jharkhand monocropping was predominant followed by mixed cropping. So this cropping system has also has implications for us in soil fertility, and it's fortunate that still we could see a lot of inter and mixed cropping despite so much advocation of monocropping by the extension departments in agriculture. And these are some of the different soil fertility management practices in these 3 states, and we also tried to look at what kind of practices that were existing 25 years back. And I think this slide is self-explanatory that we can see a range of practices used to be there in Uttar Pradesh, like FIM, Chaumasya, Alda Baldi, it's like crop rotation, Bail Jutai, and Nindai is weeding. So, and deliberate falloation in Kharif and gross incorporation for cultivation of Rabi crop. So these kind of range of diverse soil fertility management practices used to exist with the farmers, and I think all these years we have been deliberately sometimes some sections of agriculture, mainstream agriculture scientists, they did not really pay any attention to this kind of thing. Despite no policy support for these practices except chemical fertilizers, all these practices are very vibrant and alive in the farmers' fields in our villages. Even including the sheep penning, which is called Gadar Bitana. And in the study village, these are some of the practices. In one of the village we have seen in Uttar Pradesh in Lalitpur district, pit composting, NADAP composting, even vermicomposting was there with one farmer, and mixed cropping was predominant. And these are some of the pictures related to the field, where how the fodder, how important is fodder for them, and that is the reason why the kind of cropping system they adopt, they keep that in mind. And this is from empirical data. Earlier slide was from focus group discussion, which included other people. And we can see across all states the practice of combination of farmyard manure plus chemical fertilizer application was predominant practice among sample households. Interestingly, other practices such as FIM application, sheep penning, and tank silt application were also adopted by sample households. And interestingly, farmyard manure, as we were discussing earlier, that is one soil fertility management practice which adds humus to the soil, and this humus helps helps as a source of food. It will act as a source of food for the soil microorganisms, which in turn take up several processes in the soils, which no other chemical fertilizer on this earth can contribute to these things. And hence, with because the farmers understand the importance of farmyard manure, despite no policy support, we can see the empirical data suggests though they are using chemical fertilizers, many of them still persist with farmyard manure, which they have in their backyard compost pits. Sorry, sir. So, and these are some of the costs related to adoption of farmyard manure practices per acre cost. We can see practices like crop rotation, which we call fasal check, no cost is involved, and this is one practice which has kept our soils in whatever fertile conditions they are there. And this is one slide which it talks about the access of farmers to soil testing, and we have seen that majority of the farmers, like 85% of sample households in Uttar Pradesh, 87 in MP, and 97% in Jharkhand did not test their soils up to now. And whoever has tested, and in Uttar Pradesh some people have tested twice, they have gone for it, and the agencies that were involved in collecting soil sample were like Agriculture Department, Agriculture Research Station, Krishi Vignan Kendra, NGO, and in most cases the time taken for giving the results were 2 months, and surprisingly majority of the farmers were unhappy with the results. And this is one area we see many soil testing labs in several districts, and if you enter into those labs, you will understand the kind of results that are going to the farmers. They are very poorly maintained in majority of the cases. And which if we tell this soil testing department or agriculture department doesn't like these statements. And this is some of the culture and festivals related to soil fertility. Yeah, I'll finish in a minute. These are some of the culture and festivals which Sudhirji was speaking about. So we can see different kinds of festivals are celebrated. This is state-wise thing. Actually, the list might be much bigger than what I have presented. There are different things like Aryali Amavasya. Some of them are related directly to the livestock, which have a bearing for soil fertility. Some are directly related to the agriculture, and some are adopted when they are taking up sowing. And we can see, and in all places, Maveshi is worshipped like anything, and that is crucial for dryland agriculture. And based on the empirical evidence, the study has concluded that subsidies and credit policies should allow farmers to purchase whichever form of fertilizing input he or she wants. And this is one thing, we have to increase his basket of options and give him the freedom to adopt whichever one he wants, rather than just subsidizing only chemical fertilizer and not giving any attention to other form of practices which are still vibrant even now. And like development of appropriate credit programs that enable farmers to obtain crop loans for diverse mixed farming system, including organic inputs such as FIM. Actually, whenever we talk of farmyard manure, many people say, many people say that where is the livestock, where is the grazing land? But I have encountered during last 1.5 to 2 decades of my working in the field, I have seen many small and marginal farmers who never had livestock or who sold out livestock due to some problems in the house. They are willing to at least maintain 1 or 2 pair of bullocks, and they are ready to maintain these bullocks, and because there is no support for them, they are unable to maintain these livestock. Not that they are not interested to maintain. And when it comes to livestock development, local animal breeds which are important for livelihoods and sustainable agriculture should be conserved rather than promoting external breeds. Just I'll come to the final slide. Most importantly, a more participatory approach of soil fertility management is essential to take into account diversity of management techniques, because many times what farmers know, what kind of knowledge he has, nobody tries to bother, nobody tries to understand. And in the last one, the curriculum on soil fertility in the agriculture universities has to be redesigned, covering diverse farmers' practices, and there should be a special emphasis on the strong role of organic matter in maintenance of soil health. Why I tell this is because the integration between agrobiodiversity, livestock, soil fertility, food security, and livelihoods in dryland regions has to be understood and strengthened. And for us, because I also came from Agriculture University, I studied there. What we are told is in a fragmented way. Nothing is told in an integrated manner, and especially things like farmyard manure and organic matter is the least discussed chapter in our curriculum. Sometimes at the end of the semester it is not even taught, so it is just skipped off. So unless the curriculum is changed and importance is shifted to these things, we may not see good results. Thank you.
Quick question to Suresh Reddy, since you didn't have any questions, I'm kind of trying to ask this. The encouragement to livestock keeping, you said, was essential. I mean, how does it counter existing, even in the areas that you have surveyed? And what is the evidence that goes against livestock keeping? How do you encourage it against what is going on now? What are the ways in which you...
What I was trying to tell in my presentation is like, sometimes whenever there are debates about the livestock population and the availability of organic, there is a argument put forward that where are the animals? But are we seriously trying to work for the development of livestock population? And I feel there are, because I have encountered many farmers, especially small and marginal farmers who are having just 2 acres of land, 1 acre, 3 acres, who are these days who are taking the other farmers, bigger farmers' land for lease and cultivating. They are willing to maintain livestock because they lost whatever livestock they used to have due to some droughts in 1970s or whenever there was serious problem, and some of them are sold out for marriages of their children. In case they are provided financial support, even today they can manage their livestock without any problem of fodder. That's what one thing. I can tell you the recent example now. The government of Telangana is planning to support the shepherd community with this sheep. I think that when we look at from the point of soil fertility point of view, the sheep penning activity will increase, which in turn will help the soil fertility and also support their livelihoods.
Actually, animal husbandry actually destroys the biodiversity, especially in the plant diversity.
That's true, sir.
What I have studied, so we should reduce animal husbandry diversity, then only we can enrich the soil fertility.
Sir, I am differing
No,
from you.
I didn't get it.
Differing from you.
What you are animal husbandry diversity.
Yeah, because especially goats and sheep, they will consume more fodder.
See, what we believe is that as we have right to live, every animal has right to live, and they have been living since ages.
The population is more compared to other animals.
So this discussion will be diverted because this is a huge agenda you are putting in, and I completely differ with your point of view, but I am not giving my point of view because it will be a long discussion. So.